Hey everyone, Bond here from Dr. Pennsylvania. Today we have one of our oldest past periodicals, probably ever. This one comes from the Philadelphia Daily Advertiser, February 3rd, 1797. The title of the article is Porcupine's Gazette. So there are a few challenges when reading an article that is this old. One of them is what's called a long S, which we thought we understood prior to reading this article. What that is sometimes a S will be replaced with an F. Sometimes it is the second S in like a series, but in this one it seems it's kind of all over the place. So for instance, the word opposite would be spelled opophyte. In Christ Church might be spelled Crift Church. Such will be pronounced futch. But then like yes is spelled totally normal. So this one took us a little while to get through. So if you hear us stumbling, we apologize. But we think it's a really cool article. So enjoy. Thank you.
Porcupine's Gazette. Proposals by William M. Cobbett, opposite Christ Church, Philadelphia, for publishing a newspaper to be entitled Porcupine's Gazette and Daily Advertiser. Methinks I hear the reader exclaim, "What? Have we not gazettes enough already?" Yes, and far too many, but those that we have are, in general, conducted in such a manner that their great number, instead of rendering mine unnecessary, is the only cause that calls for its establishment. The gazettes in this country have done it more real injury than all the open enemies ever did or can do. They have misled the people at home and misrepresent them abroad. It was these vehicles of sedition and discord that encouraged the counties in the West to rebel. It was they that gave rise to the depredation of Britain by exciting the people to such acts of violence against that nation as left no room to doubt that we were determined on war, and it was they, when an accommodation had been happily effected, that stirred up an opposition to such that has seldom been witnessed, and which was overcome by mere chance. These gazettes it was that, by misrepresenting the disproportions of the people, encouraged the French to proceed from one degree of intolerance to another, till at last their minister braves the president in his chair, and a bullying commander comes and tells us that his only business is to seize our vessels in violation of a treaty in virtue of which alone he claims a right to enter our ports. And it is these gazettes that have the impudence to defend what their falsehood and malice have produced. I shall be told that the people are to blame, that they are not obliged to read these abominable publications. But they do read them, and thousands who read them read nothing else. To suppress them is impossible. They will vomit forth their poison. It is a privilege of their natures that no law can abridge, and therefore the only mode left is to counteract its effects. This must be done too. In their own way, books or periodical publication in the form of books may be of some service, but they are no means a match for their flying folios. A falsehood that remains uncontradicted for a month begins to be looked upon as a truth, and when the detection of at last makes its appearance, it is often useless as that of the doctor who finds his patient expired. The only method of opposition, then, is to meet them on their own ground, to set foot to foot, dispute every inch and every hair's breadth, fight them at their own weapons, and return them 2 blows for 1. A gazette of this stamp is what I have long wished to see, but I have withheld and expected in vain. Indignation at the sepidness of others has at last got the better of all the dissidence in my own capacity, and has determined me to encounter the task. People heard one side long enough. They shall now hear the other. Conditions: 1. Porcupine's Gazette shall be of useful size, and publication $8 a year to be paid at the expiration of each half year. 2. Advertisements will be inserted at half the usual price, which will always be required in ready money. 3. The censor containing those pieces from the Gazette may appear worth preserving in a more portable form, with such amplifications and amendments at time may give rise to, shall be published monthly, and each subscriber shall be entitled to a copy delivered with his paper at the end of the month. If a sufficient number of subscribers be attained, the first number of the Gazette shall appear on or before the 5th of March. NB, a subscription book is now opened at my shop opposite Christchurch, whither gentlemen in the country who, with 2 subscribes, are required to send their names. Subscriptions are taken at Boston by Mr. James White, bookseller at Salem, Mr. Devaney, postmaster at New Haven, and by Mr. Beers, bookseller at Newburyport, and Mr. E. Blunt, bookseller at New York, by Mr. S. Campbell, bookseller at Baltimore, by M. G. Hill, bookseller at Chestertown, Maryland, by Mr. James Arthur, postmaster at Easton, due by Mr. Greenberry Neal at Fredericktown, Delaware, by Messrs. Isaac and John Metz of Western Virginia, by Messrs. Pritchard and Davison at Norfolk, by Messrs. Rainbow and Hannah at Charleston, and by Mr. Young, bookseller.